that becoming a forgiver starts with being forgiven. He's saying, Peter, I want you to learn from this story about the king and the man who owed him this massive amount of what he did with his fellow servants. I want all of you disciples and all that will follow me in the days to come, I want you to learn that if you're going to become a forgiver, which is what I want you to be, you have to understand something about being a forgiven person. Because only once you've understood forgiveness in your own life are you really capable of expressing forgiveness to other people. And I believe that the whole story, the whole parable hinges on this one thing about being forgiven, learning the value and the beauty of forgiveness in our lives. Because here's this man that comes to his servant to give an account, comes to the king to give an account, and he owes this massive amount of money. He could have worked dozens of lifetimes and never been able to repay. And so he begs for mercy. He begs for forgiveness. And the king says, I extend forgiveness to you. And there that day, this man experienced this massive moment where all of his debts were canceled. He was let go and he went free. And here's the issue Jesus is teaching us. This is not about a king and a servant. This is about you and me. It's about us. Because in this story, there's some things I want you to see, and they'll be on the screen here, so take a look with me, if you will, at these things that I want to emphasize as a part of this point. We are the servant, owing a massive debt to God because of our sins, because of our sinful nature, and because of our sinful choices. He's saying, I want you to understand you're that servant. And you owe a debt to God. God is represented by the king. And all of us today, dear ones, every one of us owe a debt to God. Let me ask you a question. How many times have you offended God? How many times have you gone your way and disregarded what God wanted you to do with your life? How many times have I offended the holiness and the righteousness of God by making choices? First of all, by the fact that we're sinful by nature and we make bad choices along the way. And so we owe a debt to God, and this is what the story is teaching us. And second thing, try as we like. We can try as we like. Our debt is too big to be repaid by us. You couldn't pay back God for all the offenses you have committed against Him, nor could I, because this debt is so massive. Our sin is so great in the eyes of a holy God, it's far too big for us to ever be able to repay. In the same way that this servant could never, throughout a dozen lifetimes, have paid back all that he owed the king. The same is true for us. And that means that mercy, grace, and forgiveness from God is our only hope to avoid the terrible consequences of our debt.